Hey everyone, it's Dabacab here. A couple of days ago, I posted a video where I explained all the reasons why I thought Overwatch was one of the best games in the world. And I do genuinely believe that Overwatch is like top tier, top 10 games of definitely this decade. However, there's a big but to this. Kind of like Widowmaker, actually. There's a big but to this. I think that Overwatch is critically missing one thing. That if Blizzard added this thing to the game, it would really take it to the next level. It would massively expand its audience base, and it would make Overwatch so much more fun. And that is PvE content. I think that Overwatch needs a PvE mode where players can group up with other players and experience some sort of static event or encounter. So to dive into this and explain why I think this would be such a big deal for the game, I want to talk a little bit about my friend Parker. If you've watched any of my other Overwatch gameplay videos, you know that I have a couple of core friends that I play with, and Parker is one of them. And Parker and I go way back. Like, we've been hanging out since like the first grade or kindergarten, and we've played, thousands of hours of games together. And he and I don't really see eye to eye on games. I prefer actually PvP content. I like that when you're up against another opponent, there's like an infinite skill cap. There's always something you can learn. No matter how good you get, there will be someone out there who like is constantly challenging your skills. Whereas Parker prefers PvE content. He likes that it's a little bit like lower stress, that his success, his happiness, and his enjoyment of the game isn't contingent upon someone else being miserable. Of course, I always argue that, when I lose a game, I don't feel miserable, I don't feel sad, I just, am motivated to do better the next game. But still, he just likes PvE content more. He likes that it's all cooperative, which makes it an entirely positive experience for everyone, as opposed to PvP, where it's inherently just more adversarial, more confrontational by its very nature. So he and I have very, very strong opinions about video games. So we've often sort of clashed and had discussions or debates or whatever about what we think a good game is. And I always ask him what his example of a great game is, and he every single time points out Gears of War. He just rants and raves about it because the multiplayer was so good. The Horde mode, he thinks, is one of the best designed multiplayer experiences he's ever played. So it's not that he doesn't like FPS games, it's that most FPS games are just focused entirely on PvP, so they're not really geared towards his taste. So I think that there's actually a huge demographic of players out there who are kind of turned off by Overwatch for one reason or the other. Maybe because they're intimidated by PvP content, maybe because they don't like how things are so confrontational and adversarial, maybe because they just prefer more sort of low stress, at your own pace, cooperative based gameplay. But I think that Overwatch would benefit tremendously by putting in some PvE content that caters to these people. Pulling in more audience, a larger fan base, would mean more money, more funding, which means more content, which means more hype. It's just better for everyone. And the awesome thing about it is that they've got this hugely rich world filled with all these awesome locations and events that they can use to create like actual gameplay and events and really cool PvE encounters. Like, you could have Siege on Eichenwald, where you've got to assemble a team and you have to defend a base against this massive onslaught of Bastion bots and aerial strikes and all these just like massive siege weapons. And you could even have some sort of base building component where like you kill people and then you pick up scrap, kind of like Torbjorn, and then you go to like you build walls or you build turrets or you build gates or all these like launch pads that move you around the map, so you can prepare your fortifications against the enemy. And to top it all off, that this is Blizzard, which means that they can use the resources of the other teams at Blizzard headquarters. So the Overwatch team can go talk to the World of Warcraft team, which has been making some of the best PvE content for like a decade, and ask them like, what makes a good encounter? What are some cool boss mechanics that we could use? And they could, help them design really cool and original encounters. Now, keep in mind that I'm not saying that Overwatch should become exactly like WoW, that players should need to put together like 10-man or 40-man raid groups in order to take on this like 4 or 5 hour dungeon encounter. That's not what I'm saying at all. That would be excessive. That's not really what Overwatch is meant for. One of the appeals to Overwatch is that games are short and sweet. It's very easy to just hop on and play for a little bit. What I'm saying is that Blizzard should approach PvE content the same way they approach their PvP content. Just create short, sweet, like 10 to 15 minute encounters that players can just put a group together, go out and play. I mean, you could have a horde mode with increasing waves. You could have base defense. You could have this like a boss encounter. Like there's a Torbjorn comic where Torbjorn climbs up this gigantic skyscraper-sized mech and goes inside of it and fights someone. I mean, wouldn't it be awesome if you could fight that mech, if that was like charging towards a city and you and your team had to stop it before it got there, and it would like summon ads that you had to kill, and you could have like Widowmaker hitting its little vulnerable spots from afar, and Genji could be climbing up it, like climbing up its legs and like chopping off its armor and then jumping to its arm and climbing up to its head, and you could just do all these really cool mechanics like that that would just make the game feel cinematic and interesting and crazy. And the really cool thing about PvE content is that you don't have to worry so much about balance. I mean, if one character is way stronger than everyone else in PvP, people will flip out. But in a PvE encounter, you can make one character super strong, and it's not a big deal because no one's suffering because of it. So let's take the Doomfist, for example. Let's suppose there's an encounter where like a bunch of Talon operatives are trying to break into this facility and steal the Doomfist. And you have to hold off the Talon agents for a certain amount of time for the Doomfist to charge. And then once it's charged, one of the players can pick it up and becomes like supercharged and gets like basically an nano boost for, you know, a minute, and has a completely new set of abilities. And then, you know, Talon operatives are just coming in by the dozens, and this player can just sweep through the ranks like Godzilla, just terrorizing people and just laying waste. And that would be fun and exciting, and there's like no one on the other side of that to complain and be like, oh, this is so broken, it's so shitty to be stomped on by the person with the Doomfist. So if Blizzard expanded into PvE content, there's like really no limit to what they could do. So this is my plea to Blizzard. If there are any Blizzard employees out there who watch my channel, please consider adding PvE content. I think it would really bring this game to the next level. You've got so much lore and just story and characters that you could draw from to create really cool content. Go across the hall and talk to the WoW people, and they could be like, oh yeah, we found that this boss is really popular for these reasons, and this boss over here is less popular for these reasons. So when you design a boss encounter for Overwatch, make sure you use these principles that create really good, really exciting gameplay. And I mean, there's just so much you can do, and you'll bring in people like my buddy Parker, who loves PvE content, who rants and raves about Horde mode and Gears of War. So you'll get more customers, more money. I mean, it's just a win-win for everyone involved. I mean, look at Hearthstone. Hearthstone started doing PvE encounters where you got those little events and you unlock the wings and you fight the bosses, and people love them. They're super exciting. Everyone loves to do them because they're fresh and they're new, and they're just, you get to try out really weird mechanics that don't really work in PvP. So I mean, take a page out of your own book. Go for PvE content. All the tools are in front of you. Players want it to happen. I, for one, will be at the front of the line, eager to jump into a game with my buddies, including Parker, and we will have a blast. So anyways, for everyone else out there, everyone who isn't a Blizzard employee who just likes my videos, let me know what you think. Do you think that Overwatch is well suited for PvE content? Do you think that they could have cool game modes, or would it just sort of fall flat compared to the PvP content? Let me know. Thanks for watching. Dabacav out.